Ladies and gentlemen, it is I, Tetcher, and welcome back to another Marvel Rivals Championship game. I am here illuminated by the infernal sun orb that is melting me in my room right now, which is why the studio lights are not on, aka why I am in shadow. Hopefully you can forgive me, as we are here in the Marvel Rivals Championship upper bracket round 10, aka the round of 16, and we are going to be having a pretty solid matchup here in the Americas. Let's head on in. We have Prosperity versus Arrival 7. Prosperity, I am not too familiar with the team as a whole, but I recognize I, Ash, and Darby from my searches through the high-ranked tier lists here. But Arrival 7, a team that got very close to qualifying for Ignite and were expected to qualify for Ignite and are now having to fight their way through the Marvel Rivals Championship. As these bands go on, though, ladies and gentlemen, a quick reminder that if you enjoy these videos, then you can help support this channel, as YouTube does not pay much money at all, especially for these games that don't get as many views, but I do them because I love them. So if you want to support my passion and you just like Rivals Esports and you like early content, especially, I'm telling y'all now, if you become a member before August, so your membership carries over into like the early parts of August, then usually members get videos at least one day early. If you like value for money, then that is a very good time to become a member. So if you start at the beginning of July, you'll get the whole of July, obviously. If you start partway through, you'll just, you know, do 2 months. Do 2 months, be nice. It would be good. But you also get your names shouted out in videos. You get behind-the-scenes content from lads if I get to go. You get early videos, even more than a day in advance if I have to go out of town for any particular reason. And you get your name shouted out or put in the credits of a video like these wonderful people. Also, who, by the way, LFT, the last time of me checking, definitely a player worth picking up. Doki Pokey and John. Thank you very much for your support. Now, let's actually talk about the picks and bans so far. We're looking at Wolverine taken out compared to Loki for the first rotation. Loki, of course, is a fantastic backline dive protector, and on certain maps can create a massive firing squad delay. This map is okay, not as good as, for example, say, a Hall of Jalia when it comes to the Loki firing squad, but it can still be incredibly powerful. The Wolverine, fantastic on this map. The skybox is high. You can really launch them through to get great pickups here. And of course, Wolverine versus most tank lineups can have a very good time. Emma can do an okay job with that diamond form going into that carbon crush. But if they're not in that diamond form, Wolverine can absolutely isolate them. Punisher on the board, they have made a huge impact when it comes to the meta in Ignite. Reminder, we're using the non-advanced draft format, meaning you're picking and banning for both teams, not just your own. So the Punisher coming in here, there is still the option of that Mantis style or that Cloak and Dagger, but of course, with this style, you are going to see characters like Luna Snow sneak through the draft a little bit more often. Human Torch also going to be very similar. We've been seeing a massive rise of the triple strategist Human Torch composition, where your Mantis and a Warlock go for the sort of triple revive composition, but make it a double, and then combo a third strategist in there to protect the Torch. The Invisible Woman would have been perfect, but if they did want to go that route, then the Luna Snow will certainly fit the bill. As Luna Snow will be the protection. Ultron is also taken out. A little bit of max range poke, some good harassment, Prosperity, who looks like they might have been thinking about playing the Iron Man, but they're still going to take that away. Punishers for both teams. Cloak and Dagger, unsurprising. See how well the teams do. And because this is going to be the first time we'll see a team like Prosperity, we're going to introduce our teams. On the left-hand side, it is going to be Prosperity with UCLA Death. Or I guess there's no, like, differentiation between the letters, so I guess it would be either UCLA Death or it would be UCLA DEATH. We're going to go with UCLA Death, or just call them Death. They are on that Cloak and Dagger. I, Tameless, will be playing the Luna Snow. Ash, new from the Fire. They are going to be playing the Iron Man. Orario, I thought it was a D in there for some reason. They're on the Magneto. Walker FPS on that Emma Frost. And Darby will be playing the Punisher. And on the right-hand side, it is Arrival 7 with Monotone playing that Luna Snow. Cartier Sky playing the Magneto. Pinnacle will be on that Groot into the Punisher. Going to be a little difficult. Flamme playing that Cloak and Dagger. Chemicals on the Punisher. And Hoffman is going to try bringing out this Human Torch. Already putting some pressure onto the backline. Now, in this duel between the Human Torch and the Iron Man, it very much depends if Iron Man's able to track with that Unibeam. Otherwise, if that Human Torch can get up close, then the shotgun-like basic attacks will absolutely blow up most targets. Using the cover of the ceiling, gets locked down though, but they've got that idle aura from the Lunar Snow, making it very hard to take down. They're going to chase down the enemy Lunar Snow, help take them down, and Iron Man has been completely zoned away and picked off by Chemicals. Arrival 7 are cruising on through here, and here comes the zoning potential. With point number 1 acquired, we immediately see Arrival 7 moving up to create a little bit of zoning to make sure that they have room to move on in. Keeping the pressure on. Ash going for a character swap here, losing a little bit of ult charge. Will be making their way back in, and Darby, seeing that there is going to be that Human Torch, they move over. So Darby moving off the Punisher onto the Hela, and Ash taking that Punisher off their hands. But Pinnacle already setting up some walls above these entranceways. They are going to get cleaned out, but they're just sieging in for the moment, playing slow and steady. Straggly Prison almost at the ready. So they might just try and pull the trigger. In the meantime, Hoffman is on the flank. Here's the Straggling Prison, pulling in 2, could have been better, but it's enough to take out 2 immediately as Chemicals pushes on forward with that final judgment. The Meteor M is dropped, but isn't absorbed and picks off no one. Aurario not finding a single pickup here as Arrival 7. They did burn quite a few ultimates for this, but they still have the Eternal Bond and their own Meteor M. Here comes the portal for Aurario. They're going to try and contest this one. Coming in for the contest, here comes the fate of both worlds, and the final judgment on the counter. Darby takes out Pinnacle, they're finally getting the turnaround. Meteor M gets absolutely eaten, finds no turnaround, but the Supernova gonna try and melt through at least some of these defenders in the back line to take out the strategists. Could be huge here, those fire tornadoes are good, takes out Tamelets, but they can't seem to get their hands onto UCLA Death as they push on in, zoning everyone off the board. The great healing, holding onto this ultimate, believing that they have this fight won. Here comes the Silent Seduction, and there's the Eternal Bond, realizing that they were still being pressured pretty aggressively here. Going to be wrapping around that Human Torch, still trying to get the pressure on. Terror Cape through the front line for a little bit of extra damage, but that Punisher is relentless. Darkfall's teleport to get out of danger. The Pyro Prison to try and lock them down, being forced to retreat as Hoffman is playing so aggro here. Takes 2 down, and it looks like we will see Arrival 7 breaking the siege here. Darby trying to land some shots, trying to get a trade. Astral Flock, but the spawn door disappears. They're in serious trouble. Very isolated. Astral Flock isn't ready for another 10 seconds, and they are down. Ash moving off the Punisher. Gonna try the Winter Soldier. Tainted Voltage. Can, of course, stop flyers. Take them out of the air for a little bit. Give the opportunity for the turnaround. Chemicals already built up onto that final judgment to potentially look for a turnaround. Making their way in. A lot of pressure onto Walker. Is forced to use that diamond form already. Darby will fall. Walker is just trying to delay, but they are taken down. And the Rival 7 are cruising through this right now. UCLA Death trying to retreat back to spawn, but not able to make it out. Kalia Sky will get that pickup as Chemicals hitting them down from above. Final judgment to trap them in spawn. Melting on through. Fate of both worlds and Supernova. They are committing to ending this here and now, and they successfully do so. Ash's crack and impact not reaching in time.
2, 3. Time to switch things.
That is a triple cap with 3 minutes and essentially 40 seconds to go. Arrival 7. Showing why they are one of the teams to watch. They've had some of the highest expectations on them. And when you have those high expectations and you don't make it in a tournament like Ignite, there's going to be a little bit of a high amount of pressure onto your own mental state here. But Arrival 7, they've got away and they've started working. They've been playing in a couple of the independent tournaments that have been doing extremely well, but they have been focusing on Marvel Rivals Championship coming into this and are so far, as you can see, getting into this round of 16, doing incredibly well. The round 10 setting themselves up for a defense, and so far, Not going to swap anything out, and I don't see any reason why they would need to. Everything in this composition is working pretty effectively right now. They've got a lot of lockdown. They've got some fantastic defense against the Punisher in the form of that Magneto. The Human Torch is doing some great zoning onto the backline. There's not really any reason that they need to adjust this composition as of yet. Walker is going to try and mix it up, though, bringing out the Groot of their own. This could be effective. A straggling prison onto those two backline strategists could give them a pretty solid turnaround here.
Battle starts in 5, 4, 3.
They're sticking with this Hela to try and deal with the torch. Very sensible.
All you need to do is capture the mission area.
It has been easily one of the biggest problems. Spore Bomb from downtown. Hela is, of course, a hit scan character, so can stay very far away. They do have a damage fall off. As you can see, though, 2 shots already onto Hoffman. Portal coming out from Prosperity to go into the backline. And great pickup by Darby, taking out Chemicals, who was distracted. That portal allowing them to rotate onto the high ground means Darby can now move forward while everyone else is displaced, trying to deal with the pressure that's actually already on the point. Goddess' descent to make sure they can keep those shots over the high ground. Chasing the torch out. Orario is taken out, though. And even with this incredible engage, Arrival 7 are coming out on top right now. Shots being traded on Darby as they are now extremely outnumbered. They will get the Dagger Storm for that little bit of extra healing. Taking a lot of damage. Forced to Astral Flock to get out of danger. Strategists are on the way, though. We'll begin to heal them back up. Hoffman returning from spawn. They did get dropped down pretty effectively here. Chemicals trying to just trade a few shots. Punisher, of course, extremely high damage output. Got a bit of a buff in terms of their weapon spread, so they can track targets even more effectively, and an ammo boost. A general buff for the Punisher. Oh no, the walls completely blocked that out. Straggling prison. The Eternal Bond was shut down, and that might be exactly what Prosperity need. They just burned so much of that, forcing out that Fate of Both Worlds immediately from Monotonous Hoffman has already been taken down. They melt Chemicals on the turnaround. Straggling prison. They push on through it. They do lose Eye Ash, but the rest of the team is currently topped up. Darby pushing on forward. Counter portal came out from Cardia Sky, so they can try and contest this, but the numbers are currently heavily in favor of Prosperity, using those group walls. Soul Drainer to lock them in place, and they're finally able to take down Hoffman. Pushing on the Eye of Agamotto came on out, but they can still track down Cartier, and using those group walls to stop that Eternal Bond from the Cloak and Dagger. Burning through 2 of those dashes. That is a huge boon for Prosperity as they take point number 1 and begin piling on the pressure to point number 2. Tameless returning from spawn, Monotone and Flabé doing the same thing. They're going to take out the side wall.
That one hurts.
And potentially look for a wraparound up to the high ground. Keeping the team topped up. They make their way in, looking for control, losing the bridge, forced the Dark Force teleport to come on in as the Supernova comes on, out straggling prison with the Goddess of Death. They only get 1, but the rest of the team will clean them up. Walkers and Darby absolutely smashing that one. Monotone is literally out of there, skating away. Wait for their team to respawn. Hoffman is going to bring out the Iron Fist for the turnaround here, so they can get a little bit of protection onto that Lunar Snow, and of course, something that's a little bit sustainy, fast rollout, and can try and dive that backline, put some pressure onto that Hela, who is currently playing without an Invisible Woman, so will not have that Guardian barrier to keep them protected. And immediately Iron Fist coming on there, Soul Drainer to buy a little bit of extra time. But this is a fight that absolutely is going to be won by the Iron Fist in the standard 1v1 to Fate of Both Worlds into the straggling presence for that extra delay to try and sustain on through. The Iron Fist is not yet finding targeting. Here comes the final judgment from Chemicals to capitalize on this, but we're seeing Arrival 7. Their ornaments are a little bit disjointed here. Monotone is down, Cartier is down, Chemicals is down. Ayash absolutely melts on through the front line. Darby gets the 1v1 versus Hoffman. Pinnacle falls, and that is the 2 cap by Prosperity. They're a little bit behind the pace of Arrival 7, but they are charging forward. And Hoffman back to the torch. Tried the Iron Fist. So the Iron Fist, great at delays. They are very sustaining for a melee dive character. Can, of course, pressure the backline incredibly aggressively. So you can get a lot of extra value out of that. But the problem is, if you get locked down, you can be in a little bit of trouble. That's what we saw there. Soul Drainer from Derby, allowing them a bit of a turnaround and escape. And of course, Strategist being able to keep an eye on that Hela, who is right now one of their biggest win conditions, as being able to focus down onto that Human Torch. The problem with Hela is just how vulnerable she is. That's Astral Flock does have a bit of a delay behind it. One shot away, Hoffman gets out, Straggling Prince comes on in, using the Magneto Wall. Derby is still going to get taken out though. Chemicals out of the show, here comes the fate of both worlds, into that Meteor into that Final Judgment and Meteor Ash melts on through once again with the protection of Tameless and Aurario. They clean up the defenders, Hoffman needs to get taken down here. They tried to get the Luna with them to get the 1v1. Portal coming out for Walker so they can get a bit of zoning potential on. They arrive back to the point in time. They were now trying to zone away the members of Rival 7 who were all kind of respawning at the same time. Chemicals, Final Judgment using the objective for cover as they push on in, trying to use that Essence of Null for any kind of protection and a high ground positioning with the Fate of both worlds not even needing to be used. In fact, they are just sustaining through to the Eternal Bond. Derby gets completely melted out of their objective and taken out by the Meteor as Chemicals is helping hold the line. Culling Turret to zone away the damage output to delete the members of Prosperity. Walker falls, Derby falls, and we're starting to see that timer tick down. 2 minutes to go as the retreat comes on out for Prosperity. And Rival 7 in control, but that card is super close to that finish line. But Portal has been used. Aurario not going to be able to reinforce their team right now, neither will Walker, so they're going to have to go back in on foot. This burns through a lot of their time. They now have to not only fight through their opponents, but they have to actually get to that point and touch it. Hoffman, what a bionic hook! Does not land the Trooper's fist, but it's enough to at least force a little bit of positioning panic. Pinnacle drops a little bit low on that Strange. Sticking with that by the way, even though they're close to their spawn, as they will soon, excuse me, have that Eye of Agamotto. Sorry, Summer. Holland is trying to destroy me. This again, here comes that Final Judgment. Screwball for a little bit of extra protection. Separate barrier has broken. Meteor M for Aurario as the Kraken impact has found no targets. The Meteor M takes out Chemicals. Pinnacle, Eye of Agamotto is absorbed with the fate of both worlds. Completely shut down. Eternal Bond going to be coming out from UCLA Death. Looking to make this the death note of Arrival 7. As they can't seem to hold the defense right now. But they are delaying for at least a couple seconds more. Terra Cape comes on out. Derby's getting pinged in the backline. UCLA Death keeping them topped up. The team's a little bit split right now. They lose Aurario. Chemicals once again. That Terra Cave, Dragon Prison came on out. It's the setup as Walker walks to the backline and may have just set them up with everything they need. Kraken impact with essentially no HP left, but they're trying to commit to it. One more reset, and it might be enough. And notice the pickup for UCLA as they move their way in, looking for those knockdown onto that Captain America as Pinnacle swaps to one of the fastest rollouts and the best delayers. Guardian Sky doing the same. Cap and Venom. They move fast. They can sustain for long. Making it very difficult for the team to stop staying onto the point as the card is getting pushed backwards. Prosperity, they're running out of time and they're running out of ultimates as Derby is taken down with 2 seconds left. Overtime will be activated as they make their way in. Walker is trying to delay this as long as they can with Aurario. Ash charges up the Final Judgment to push on into the backline to get this pressure onto anyone they can reach. Countered, taken out by Chemicals, but Chemicals goes down as well. I think it's a 1-for-1 freedom charge, but it's actually sustained, and they're going to be using that. And Cosmic Yard Amplifier from Monotone for the damage boost and the sustain. Tameless with the fate of both worlds to buy a little bit of extra time as Derby takes to the sky. If they can take out some of these defenders, it'll be huge. Trying to get onto the front line. Astral flocks to the sky into the fate of both worlds, and they're sustaining on through onto Chemicals. Soul Drainer to pull him in, but it's not enough for the finishing blow. That timer is ticking down ever so slowly. Pinnacle drop low. Kraken impact onto the point. Derby's in serious trouble, but they're ducking and weaving. Portal has been delayed long enough. Straggling Prison to shut down Arrival 7. They are blown up off the point. The Portal for an extra body, and Pinnacle, the Liberty Rush does not reach in time. It is 3-3. But Arrival 7, with over quadruple the time of Prosperity, are looking a little bit better. to achieve this map. Number 1 is a best of 5 at this stage. The Groots being a big game changer here. Walker and Pinnacle making so much work for their team. Sorry, just giving their team so much effort to try and turn this round. But it's Walker who's able to land theirs in the Pinnacle moments. Pun only mildly intended. You've also got to bear in mind, the teams that do not qualify for Ignite via MRC, there are going to be a load of ex-Ignite teams that may be going through a little bit of roster restructuring, heading into those open qualifiers for Ignite Stage 2 after those mid-season finals. This could mean that these teams, these players are also advertising themselves if they do not want to, if they are staying as a group. That's fantastic. They have a chance to play through those open qualifiers themselves, but there is always a chance that a team might reach out and say, hey, we did very well in Ignite, but we didn't get the top cut. Or even a team that isn't a top cut and just wants to do a little bit of roster restructuring. There is a chance that someone might reach out and say, hey, I enjoyed how you played. If you're looking for a change, hit us up. So these teams, these players, not only going to be building their own team synergy, but in case any teams decide to restructure, every match is an advertisement. And I'll say this for minimum, Walker's been making a very good advertisement. Degree in marketing levels here. Chemicals hidden from any initial assault. Waiting for someone to make a mistake. There's that culling turret. Meld on through a big chunk of it early. Drop down to 10 HP, but Daggerstorm will top them back up. Walker on the flank. Here comes the shotgun adjudication for that turnaround. Timer ticking down already. Prosperity have had to make their move forward to look for a turnaround as Chemicals is completely uncontested right now. You can see that counter punisher on the high ground, but just can't seem to get the track going because Eternal Bond will be coming out. They're trying to go to UCLA Def, but taken out by Arario as Flamme is going to be countering with their own Eternal Bond for the extra status. They've already lost one member. They need to make sure that they're able to stay on through. Dragon in prison on the wall to hold them in place, including Hoffman, but there's no follow-up. Flaming Media, and with Supernova on the board, they can try and go for the turnaround to cut off any reinforcements. Meteor M to try and snipe them. Good cover being taken as they try to get onto this, as Darby with this Hella needs to make some extra space. Hoffman has taken cover, and we're starting to see Prosperity. They're building this up. They might be able to take point number 1 here in overtime, and they will get it. With no time left, half of overtime available. Rival 7 need to win one team fight. Simple as that. But the fact is Prosperity are on the board in overtime with a quarter of the time of Rival 7. That overtime ticking down. They need to be careful. Stepping off it a little bit. Final Judgment coming on out. How do you take cover when you've got to stay on the objective? Takes out 2, looks for more. Eternal Bond going to be coming out from UCLA Death to buy extra time, but with Tameless down, it's only Arario. Overtime ticks down, and Arrival 7 will get the hold. 1 point, 62 meters, 17 centimeters.
Time to switch things up, including which side you're on.
We're heading on in. Arrival 7 now with over 4 minutes to mirror that success. Essentially a full standard round time. They could not have asked for a better setup here. But that doesn't mean the pressure isn't on. Cartier Sky currently hovering on the thing here. They might be going for a bit more of an aggressive rush. Okay, they're going to start on the Penny at least. Getting a little bit of that cheeky early armor up using the Penny team up.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds.
Time for some fireworks.
This, of course, is going to give them a little bit of extra armor. With the rocket Battle Rebirth Beacon, forgot the name there for a second, the BRB, giving you 25 armor. It's a great thing to put down if you are ever playing just in a game in your ranked and no one's playing Rocket and you're on a defense or a domination map, there is literally no reason, unless you have already got some ult charge built up, that you should not swap to Rocket, throw down a BRB and give your team 25 armor, 25 bonus health, making your way into the first objective. But if you want to take that to an extra level, then you can start on the Penny and then give your team 50 armor, as Penny's C ability, that Spider-Mine spawner with armor, will give them 50 bonus health instead of the 25 that Rocket gives. So there's really very little reason to not, as we're seeing Culling Turret, Orbital Strike here. Orbital Strike coming in from Chemicals. Through the portal goes Pinnacle, making the most of the positioning. Getting some shots onto Darby, coming on in. And a lovely Scourge Grenade up to the high ground. They really want this Hella. Going for fast rollouts. Can't find them. Where is Darby? Oh, they're way back on the point. At some point, Chemicals went past them.
A nice deep freeze.
Darby now up to the high ground. Sending in the shots. Wants to get onto Hoffman if they can. Shot one. Going to take three. Reset. Healing coming on out. Points starting to tick up. Prosperity dropping low. Walker has already fallen here. Taylor's has faded both worlds, and they should probably just drop it here. They're going to use a Turtle Bond first. Final judgment for Ash. They need to clear people out here. Mini Rev gets popped, so not going to be used with that Iron Bulwark coming out just in time for that extra sustain. Pulling backwards. That final judgment is not enough damage as Chemicals goes for the mirror, using that metallic barrier. But Ayamoto is shutting them down. Walker drops low. Group walls for every extra second, but Walker just does not have the sustain to deal with this. That's a Soul Drainer with the Scourge Grenade. Chemicals able to get out of danger as they go into that Culling Turret to melt through that Magneto, to force any bodies off the point, to guarantee that first pickup for Arrival 7 so that they can go into distance. The reinforcements are coming in as fast as they can. Darby go for the Hail Mary as they go into the sky. Picks up one, looks for a second, but a healing up is good. Flame stays up. Darby's taken down, and point is grabbed by Arrival 7 as they make their way towards that finish line. 62 meters, they're already at 20. And it's about rollout speed now. That's a long walk. No one swapped to a fast rollout hero. That might just be it. I don't know if they're going to reach it in time. Arario marching up. The finish line is right there. They reach it. No, they don't reach it. No one swapped to a fast rollout character. And as such, that's going to... No one swapped to Cap. No one swapped to Venom. That's going to be GG. Game number 1 goes over to Arrival 7. Wow. All right, Arrival 7 take game number 1 with time to spare. A close matchup, but it's these critical moment decisions that can change a game when there's so little distance to cover. And how fast that cart moves when there are 3 bodies on it. You got to make sure there's someone there. You only need 1 body to stop it moving. Venom, Captain America, or both of those can delay for a significant amount of time. Look at the statistics here. 41 eliminations. 43 for Hoffman. 41 KOs, 43 KOs, 33 KOs. It's a very high KO game. Top final hits. 21 for Chemicals, 14 for Hoffman, 13 for Ash, 12 for Darby. 55k damage for Ayash. They were just trying to melt through Pinnacle and Cartier. 70k healing for Monotone, just beating out UCLA. Tameless and Flame sitting a little bit lower on 63 and 62. And top damage blocks, very close between Pinnacle and Walker, the two Groots here. 73 and 74k. Both of them putting on an absolute clinic here. Least amount of times getting taken out is going to be a 2-way tie between Flame and Monotone. Both only going down 6 times. 2 times less than the next lowest, which is UCLA Death. And that's game number 1. Let me get us set up for our second map in this best of 5 series. Very nicely done. As usual, the bug that sends me back to the main screen is still in the game, so I have to go through like 12 different screens to get back to where I want to be. Here we go. Alright, looks like our second map is going to be Midtown, so I hope you're all excited for that. Let's head on in to our second game in this best of 5. Who will be moving on to that round of 8? Let's find out as we head on in. Arrival 7, now on the left. Prosperity, now on the right. Let's see where we go with this. That's going to be the Wolverine, taken out nice and early again. Very sensible. If they can play Groot to that level, it's a good removal here. And there we go. With that Wolverine taken away, Arrival 7, they've recognized the threat. While Pinnacle can play it beautifully, it was a threat in the hands of Walker, so they're going to take it away because they know that they have the flexibility. Human Torch going to be protected once again, trying to force Darby onto that Hela potentially. Another attempt at the Winter Soldier. Punisher's definitely jumping up in priority for both of these teams once again. Tameless currently hovering the Mantis. They might try and go for a Punisher-Mantis combo, which has become extremely popular in the Asia regions. Especially Asia itself as opposed to China. And there's that protection onto Hela. They're committing to that, just in case. This might not be a commitment if we're going to pick this, but it's certainly a threat. You pick Torch, we will pick Hela. We know how much value an uncontested Human Torch can give. Winter Soldier, though, taken out. Interesting. Kraken Impacts and that Bionic Hook were very nearly very dangerous. But it does remove a tool of theirs that can take out flyers as well. Psylocke. Backline dive removed. Sorry, I just had a coughing fit. And the Storm. Okay. A little bit of damage boost. Double flyers. We've seen teams, most notably Low 9, running this Firestorm combo. Usually, though, in a triple duelist setup as a big break strategy on this map in particular and on that Central Park. Emma going to be protected once again. Now, Prosperity. You're against potentially double flyers, and the Winter Soldier has been taken down. Punisher is extremely popular right now. What is going to be dealing with those? Potentially a Magneto to be taken out. They remove the Ultron. If there's 2 flyers in the air, then having that Ultron drone on one of them, if they stay close to each other, then for starter, Storm is going to give a buff to that Human Torch. And for second, you're going to have Ultron healing them all up together. Doesn't mean less bodies on the ground, but it can still be extremely effective. And Luna Snow will be taken out by Arrival 7. Whereas the Prosperity had some great earlier bonus healing, which made it very difficult to take down some of their backliners. Storm going to be picked up for Prosperity, taking advantage of Arrival 7's pick. Using that damage boost onto the Punisher. Not going to go with the Hela as of yet, at least. See how well it works, as currently Arrival 7 haven't locked a single duelist. They are currently a 3-3. This is a strategy we have seen a fair amount from a couple teams on this map in particular. You go for an incredibly aggressive hold, but it's sometimes been run with stuff like Groot, it's sometimes been run with stuff like Penny to go for a big hold, and then someone who gets taken down swaps to Doctor Strange to portal back in, but it looks like they're committing to bringing the Strange out early to start building up to that Eye of Agamotto, which is of course an extremely game-changing ult. So they're going to try and just go for maximum sustain. Sometimes you'll see teams group up in the building to the right of the one they are in right now. But this center building is also a great hold position. So they're just going for maximum sustain. As long as the body's on the point, you're going to be delaying extremely aggressively. With a lot of AoE healing as well. Loki, regen domain, they can go a little bit further forward. That repair mode for the rocket. Dagger Storm and the basic healings from Cloak and Dagger. It's a lot of extra value here. Now, the way you beat this is you swap to hyper aggression. Storm is actually one of the better characters for dealing with this, but at this point you should be swapping one of your vanguards, or you can just be winning. You know what? I'm just going to let him do it. I'm just going to let him do it. The standard method would be to swap one of your vanguards to something like a Moon Knight or a Scroll Girl, or at some point both, and just try and meld on through. Here comes the Omega Hurricane, charged up beautifully, but it's just going to get focused down and picked off there. It did not drop an Iron Bulwark onto it. And you can see here, even though they're taking some of these fights, that cart has barely moved. And Arrival 7, once they're all down here, they can just portal back in and they can hold again. That is the power of this fight. They have successfully made it 30 meters, and now Hoffman is just going to portal the team back in, and they're just going to do the exact same thing again. It's a strategy that was initially popularized by Team Peps, but has been altered to bring out more vanguards and more sustain. Monotone coming on in here with the Eternal Bond for the setup. UCLA Death going to be matching the exact same. Drops in with the Terror Cape and Silent Seduction. For Pinnacle comes on out, trying to get any of those on the floor members. Hit from above. In comes Walker. Where were they? As they're going in with their own Silent Seduction. Media M is just eaten by Walker. Aya Agamotto going to be coming out into the backline as Hoffman is trying to delay, but they are just getting countered here. They come back as the BRB though for extra sustain as Ash is doing a lot of damage, but they're taking a lot as well. Cosmic Guard Amplifier for that bonus health and damage bonus. They're trying to get onto Hoffman, who has found themselves isolated. Cloak of Levitation gets them out of danger. Flame, another Eternal Bond. And they've made it 85 meters. Just under 2/3 of the way. Here comes another Omega Hurricane into the backline. But that Eternal Bond is keeping the team topped up. It's not enough damage to break the line. And they can't even make it back to their own regeneration domain. Clone onto the Media Air, blocked by the Sephirim barrier of Hoffman. Prosperity. They just can't break this. Every time they do, it seems to get a turnaround. 90 seconds until the cooldown comes back on that portal, meaning that if we hit overtime, the portal will come up 10 seconds into it. Fameless. Setting up an Eternal Bond nice and early. Starting in Cloak form, starting in Dagger form is a little bit riskier. You'll often see people start in Cloak form so they can use Dark Force Teleport to get out of danger. Arario, Media M, not going to find the target as Ash looking for an opening as they make their way back in. They have Final Judgment, Zipline to make it to the point earlier and quicker. Trying to take out that Cosmic Guard Amplifier. Not getting the best angle on it here. They don't want to put themselves in a vulnerable position in order to get those shots. 43 seconds remain as Prosperity forced to back up, heal up Walker as they take a lot of damage. Agamotto from above. Dark Force Teleport is beautiful. Blocks enough, but Hoffman still has enough damage to take out Ash with the Media M, helping out from Cardia Sky. And they've broken this. They have trapped them in spawn. 20 seconds remain. Arrival 7 have locked Prosperity in their base. There's an Omega Hurricane, which might have to be used just a touch at this point. To be fair, that cart is still quite far back. They're going to try. Eternal Bond, going to be used in advance. Here it comes. Omega Hurricane. Inside their own team's Eternal Bond, so they're going to get that extra protection. Here comes the Silent Seduction. Vexar using the cart for the protection here, but they're still going to get pulled on in. Taken down. Tameless is trying to buy every extra second they can with the Eternal Bond coming into the backline. Terror came through the whole team, but the follow-up just isn't there. They're trying to protect their team. They're so isolated from them, though, but if they go too far back, they're going to be off the cart. Arario's going to be the one to make their way in to try and delay this for as long as possible. Chemicals has a Cosmic Guard Amplifier, which they will use to give their team the damage boost to try and secure this victory, to melt through this Magneto, who's currently the one doing the majority of the work in terms of the holding Meteor M, just low enough to make sure they keep touching the cart. Chemicals is taken down, but Arario falls. Cardia Sky, Meteor raised in victory, as that is going to be a hold pre-first point, 85 meters, 7 centimeters.
Switch things up, including which side you're on.
What a setup. Arrival 7 using a composition that we've seen creep on in through a lot of different regions, but using it to great effect here. Prosperity now. They now have to hold 85 meters for the entire duration. The pressure is on, and with Rival 7 already 1-0 up. This is where we separate the wheat from the chaff. Look at this, Rival 7, they know how this works. They know that if Prosperity attempt a similar strategy, which they are, they're doing the exact same thing, just going for the copy strats. Rival 7, they know how to break it. Moon Knight, Squirrel Girl, Storm, all of these characters will help break the line because they're able to hit round corners. And they do AoE damage. You just do so much damage that you break the line unconditionally.
The battle starts in 5.
If they're not able to do enough, have enough mobility, or do enough rotational moves in order to get out of danger, then they get melted. And here you go, immediately the Squirrel Girl dropping a lot of damage. Hoffman takes the first pick up here, looking for an ag spot. But for now, just making the most of Loki's. There's the Arc right onto the back line, but they get spotted, forced to back away, but they will get healed up. Card is being held, at least for the moment, but this is already going significantly better than it did for Prosperity, as we are seeing Rival 7. They're forcing positioning issues. Two sides of the team up with the Poke and Dagger for the extra healing. Fist of Conchu, Hand of Conchu, into the backline to zone away the strategists and forcing everyone into a group up, which means Squirrel Girl's going to get more value. They're going to be able to push on even further. Psionic Seduction, which is going to melt through those Regeneration Domain Lanterns. And the deflections. The ricochets from the Moon Knight is why people grouped up in buildings like this makes Moon Knight the perfect siege breaker along with Squirrel Girl. They had Storm for some extra damage, but they have already rotated back to their Vanguard as they have broken the first line of siege, and now they switch to normal characters. While they know Prosperity are going to come in for a round number 2, they think they're going to have a better fight now that they're out of these defensive positions. Squirrel Girl is going to be staying here, as there is still a lot of Vanguards here, so you can still keep picking away, and you only have to make it a little bit more. And you notice me a grouped up defense on this final point. Monotone healing up the team with the Eternal Bond, Tameless with their own. Down goes Chemicals. Arario, Aya Magamoto. They've got 2.5 minutes to defend, but they're going to burn it early. They are able to catch the Human Torch into the backline. Monotone and Flamme both fall. That's all the strategies, but they aren't able to get onto the torch. Prosperity, they're able to hold this time. The unbeatable Scroll Tsunami almost at the ready, as is Supernova, meaning that one big fight could be a huge boon for a Rival 7, but they've got to survive this first, as in comes that Psionic Seduction. Not going to get a lot of pickup here. Vexile with Media M for the turnaround. Here comes the counter Psionic Seduction from Pinnacle with the Supernova from Hoffman for the turnaround. So just focus onto the backline to break through them. The Squirrels have come on out as Hoffman sieges from above. The Squirrels are weakening the backline, but they are going to get cleaned out quite quickly here. Media M into the backline. They get the finishing blow onto Ash, which removes at least one of the strategists healing, but they do have 3. Making their way back in. At this point, Ash should probably swap over to something like a Jeff or a faster rollout to make sure that they reinforce their team quicker. While Rocket is fast, they're not as fast as someone like the Jeff or a Luna Snow. Monotone takes out UCLA, and the numbers are starting to fall. Tameless with the Eternal Bond for every extra second of delay, but they get Terracaped. They're in serious trouble now. They can't afford to get themselves squad in a position like this. They're dropping every moment of damage they can. Get Carbon Crushed, dropped low, Dark Force Teleport to get out of danger, but they need to make sure that they're back and forcing points on bodies onto this point, trying to hit it onto Orario, but they're blocked by the card. In the meantime, we see Hoffman in the backline is zoning everyone here. And who's on the cart? Walker is trying to delay with everything in their power. Psionic Seduction onto the backline. Gonna be trying to lock down Flamme, but the Eternal Bond to shut it down with the turnaround coming in. This is a Rival 7 in full control of this fight. Chemicals are swapped over to Storm, meaning that they have damage boost to march their way through this. They clean up one. They look for Rocket, who's just moving fast, trying to hide. But that is going to be a Rival 7, reaching that finish line with 26 seconds to go. They broke the siege with overwhelming Squirrel and Moon power. Nicely done. That is going to be a Rival 7. 2-0 up. in this series. Look at that difference in terms of the final hits. 23 KOs for Pinnacle, 22 for Hoffman. And then the final hits, 8, 7, 7. Compared to the highest, which is 4, and that's from Ash. They did their best to try and hold the line, but Moon Knight, Squirrel Girl, and a little bit of Storm even. Too much AoE bounce. You have all these strategists, but they take damage too with the attention getting split. They just get focused down too much. And as such, Arrival 7 now 2-0 up in this best of 5. Meaning that they are, in theory, 1 game away from moving on in this bracket. As I get us back to that screen. Map number 3. It's going to be another convoy map. We are heading to Yggdrasill Path for our 3rd map in this series. Will Arrival 7 be able to close this out, or Prosperity finally be able to get a win on the board despite some very close games so far? Let's find out as we head on in. The Tree of Life awaiting at the end. We're starting off with the classic band so far since that first game, the Groot and the Wolverine. With that Human Torch going to get protected once again. Hoffman certainly having a preference, and the fact that the Torch is maybe one of the best characters in the game right now. It's up there. If I had to guess, duelist-wise, Wolverine's definitely up there. Let's do a top 5. Wolverine, Human Torch, Punisher, Psylocke for sure. Wolverine, Punisher, Psylocke, Human Torch, and who fits that last gap? Hang on, let me get a list of duelists up. I want to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Rivals. Characters. Let's just make sure I'm not missing anyone here. Who hits that 5th spot? I don't know, honestly. Probably Star-Lord or... Probably Star-Lord. Like, Storm's up there with the soldiers up there. Like, I'm confident in the Punisher, the Human Torch, Psylocke. I'm confident in all them. But I feel like anyone from like Namor, Storm, or Star-Lord could fill that last spot. Wolverine, of course, is for sure up there. Alright, one of those. I'm probably going to say Star-Lord because they get played more consistently. Speaking of, though, the Storm is going to get protected. Punisher will get bad this time. A little bit too much pressure so far with culling turrets. And the Lunar Snow is protected. That's going to give a lot of extra value onto that Human Torch. So now they, in theory, have Lunar Snow and the Invisible Woman. I mean, they could go hyper carry on that Human Torch and just keep them all hyper sustained. Vexor is currently hovering onto the Hela. And that's because they've had a role swap here. Darby, a player swap here. Darby, who was in game number 1, not in game number 2, I believe, either. And not in game number 3, meaning Vexor's having to play their Hela.
They'll be coming in 30 seconds.
Arrival
Stay
7.
strong.
Looking pretty standard, although they are looking at, once again, a triple. Going for another hard hold with triple Vanguard, triple Strategist. Prosperity, they're looking at an Iron Man currently. That's a lot of AoE. Could help break through those front lines here. And as such, they should almost certainly swap this Hela off. While Hela can do some incredible work, I don't think it's enough damage to deal with the Vanguards. You need something a little more consistent. But as Punisher take it out, it's going to become a little more difficult. Wolverine's taken out. The only percentage damage, if I remember correctly, in the game right now is going to be that Wolverine attacks and the Iron Fist. Neither of which is going to be especially effective in this. And of course, Wolverine would be, but they're bad. Iron Man should be doing pretty alright here. Sieging damage without too much to really deal with them. And as such, you can immediately see Prosperity are very slowly starting to make some distance, forcing out the Dark Force teleport. Taking out the Cloak and Dagger. Unibeam to melt through the Vanguards. He's getting out of danger though, because they're getting a little bit too close to the point where the Vanguards can actually hit them. But they've broken the line. Great success coming in from Prosperity, the Iron Man. A very effective choice. It's the exact same logic behind the Squirrel Girl and behind that Moon Knight. You pick AoE, you make it so that if the attack's going to group up so they can all get healing, then you make that hurt. You make it more difficult for them to do that. The Hela currently working extremely well. Able to just focus onto the backliners. Need to be careful though, if they get overpressured, then there could be a bit of a problem. Portal coming out from Rival 7 once they're all regrouped. Ash is trying to make sure that they don't get picked off. Gets frozen, focused down. Went for the armor or overdrive. Make sure they're sustained. Upgraded Unibeam. Make sure they stay mobile, not wanting to get caught out of position. Silent Seduction with the Pulse Cannon, taking them out, interrupting the ultimate. Beautifully timed there. But that does mean that the Eternal Bond is moving with complete freedom, and Pinnacle is already back thanks to the BRB, the Battle Rebirth Beacon. Meteor M, draw point down, but Vexar's already taken down. Tameless will fall. It's going to be 2-0 right now as a Rival 7 has finally started to turn this round. Monotone will go down, but this is still a numbers fight where Prosperity are starting to get staggered out here, being forced to take cover. Ash will melt. Pinnacle making their way in, trying to get onto Rario, looks for that Carbon Crush, cannot reach, Diamond Kick! Crystal Kick pushing on forward, looking for the backline. They can't reach Vexar, but they sure can reach Walker. Almost automatically said Arario there, but Arario's not on the Magneto this time, they're on the Ember. They have a Silent Seduction, they have a Goddess of Death, and they very nearly have another Invincible Pulse Cannon. Ultimate's being built up. Taking a couple shots from Magneto, need to be careful. But getting some good hits, Cardia dropping low. Here comes that Silent Seduction as the setup. If they can land that Invincible Pulse Cannon, but they want to make sure that Ash is kept safe first. Everyone's a little bit split now. No real reason to drop the ultimate. And with Vexar and Arario taken out extremely early, that fight is over. Now full team of ultimates from Rival 7 who have managed to get another fantastic triple Vanguard, triple strategist hold. And Prosperity, they once again don't seem to be able to deal with this as effectively as Rival 7 have been able to do so far. Silent Seduction though, not finding a lot of targets. Trying to get their focus onto Halfman. Eternal Bond shuts that down though for all that extra healing. Walker with the Meteor M tries to catch the Lunar Snow. Won't get them with that hit, forcing out that Fate of both worlds though. Vagabundo into the back line is going to shut down Prosperity once again. Ash trying to sustain on through, utilizing the Fate of both worlds to try and hold the fight as they get Carbon Crushed. Diamond Crystal kicked, going up high. Invincible Pulse Cannon is going to need to come out soon at this rate if they want to try and contain this, as it's currently overtime and they are getting targeted right now by Pinnacle. But it looks like they've finally been able to win a fight. They hold on to their ultimates, which they can now use in overtime to try and push on through. They've got Silent Seduction, and they have the Invincible Pulse Cannon. No portal available for Rival 7, as finally their push, their whole strategy has been shut down. Flamme on the Jeff. Portal's back off cooldown. That's how long they've been delaying. Did anyone touch? 2, 1. They touch! They get another delay! Chemicals goes down immediately as they went rocket trying to lay his Invincible Pulse Cannon. Finds nothing as they make their way to the backline. Ash on the flank, trying to just land that extra damage, but with 3 members already dead, Arrival 7 just pulled off the miracle. With half a minute to go, they clean out Prosperity and get the hold pre-point 1.
2-0. Time to switch things up.
What a hold!
Side you're on. You'll need a top-notch team to win this one.
Now it is time for Prosperity to hold. Do they try and mirror Arrival 7 once again with another full Vanguard strategist composition? As Ash currently going to be hovering the Ultron. Not banned out this time. Could give them a little bit of extra sustain while offering some extra damage. Monotone thinking similarly. Guardian Sky starting us off with the penny. Give your team some armor. 50 armor better than 25 armor. Who'da thunk it?
30 seconds before you attack. Get ready.
Well, good looks. Business
Flamme.
again.
Once again on that Iron... Sorry, no, not once again. For the first time on this Iron Man. And they're expecting a full hold. They are going very aggressively onto the damage. They've got the Storm. They've got the Squirrel Girl. They are going hard on this damage output to break a siege. Prosperity, though, they did mix it up. They are going for a double Vanguard, triple strategist with Hela as their last pickup here. No third Vanguard, adding in a little bit of extra damage this time instead. And the tiniest crosshair that isn't just a dot. But the damage output already coming in, and that cart has already reached the first corner. They fight quite far back here. Magneto getting focused down, trying to get out of danger. Shots from Chemicals, sending them up beautifully. Pinnacle drops low, retreats to the low ground to get a little bit of extra healing. Diamond Form not yet ready for the counter engage. Hoffman trying to duel out with Vexar. Great Soul Drainer for the turnaround. Taking that 1v1. Eternal Bond getting dropped for the initial engage. I mean, a Scroll Tsunami coming on into the backline, but they were able to take that down. Good tracking by Vexar. Sonic Seduction for Arario. For the hold. They're going to commit to this to try it and get rid of Arrival 7 to hold them back. 47 meters out of 90. And they're holding the line, at least for the moment. Chemicals pinging away from above. Looks like they're going to swap over to the Hela of their own. Just trusting their own hit scan skills to go for the 1v1, dropping them low, and we immediately see Vexar getting out of there. We're going to see the battle of the Helas. And of course, trying to deal with the Ultron as well, another hit scan character. Omega Hurricane going to be burned into the backline on top of everyone. Range of Ultron point blank, and they all over Meteor M. Cardia Sky set that up beautifully. They've ranged of Ultron and Fate of both worlds to try and delay that, to try and absorb the damage. And Cardia Sky said, but that's both your strategist ultimates at the same time, which means that we can now focus hard damage. One Meteor M directly on top with the pre-damage from Mega Hurricane is easily enough for the hold. In comes the portal for the re-engage from Prosperity with what might be their last chance. Walker's taken out before they can Meteor M, but they've been able to get Cardian Sky and Monotone, making this a 2-for-2 currently in this fight. Great lockdown with that Carbon Crush into the backline onto Tameless, but they're getting dropped low. Pinnacle falls, and Arrival 7 will get zoned out. Prosperity holding one more time, but there's 1 minute and 30 left. Arrival 7 have one, maybe two more pushes left in them, and now they're going back to a 2-2-2. They have Pinnacle, they have Cardia Sky, they've brought out the Hela, they're sticking with the Storm. A little bit of speed boost, a little bit of damage boost. Cardia Sky already taken down. Arario playing very far forward and already having that Eye of Agamotto, giving them a great opportunity for the turnaround. They're trying to set themselves up to defend on this first corner so they don't have to just they can at least buy some space. Keep the backline safe from the engage with that Omega Hurricane when that comes on out, as Hoffman will be building that up. Chemicals will fall. Vexar getting the better round of that last engagement. Pick up that Silent Seduction. Immediately, the Rage of Ultron and the Eternal Bond, once again, overlapping some of their strategist ults. But it's also a little bit of damage. Media M from Walker looks for Luna, finds them inside. Monotone is taken down. Counter Media M from Cartier. Looks for Tameless, but they are already disengaged. Mega Hurricane for the setup. Vexar will fall. That card's got a lot of bodies on it. Tameless falls. Ash falls. Aya Magamoto for an attempt at a turnaround. They gave it a Flamme, but they are very much surrounded, getting dropped incredibly low, getting popped down here as chemicals in the sky with the Goddess of Death. It might be the Death Toad. The incredible setup of Toad the Dead for Prosperity as they're trying to rush in. Ash is rushing on in. They have the Fate of both worlds to touch the card. They delay it with 2 meters to go. And it's all about the delays now. Prosperity are giving everything they can, but they've used their one defensive ultimate to try and turn this around. Monotone with their own Fate of both worlds to make sure the rival 7 can sustain on to this point, as it is overtime. Aurario arrives on Venom. Symbiotic Resilience for a little bit of extra delay, but they're getting focused down with no strategist ultimate to keep them up. UCLA is healing out. They've already BRB'd once, so there's no more revives in this fight. Just keeping the team topped up with as much AoE healing as possible. They can try and delay. Terror Cape comes on in, and now with that barrier up, it will deflect a lot of these hit repair mode shots. Forced to go on in with that extra bonus health from the Cosmic Yard Amplifier to try and delay this as long as they can as Pinnacle with that own side of seduction to keep this going. Aurario has come in on Spider-Man just because the fastest rollout they had left. They gotta stay on this point. Eternal Bond for Flamme is all the healing they might need. Walker's portaling, but it's not in time. That is going to be GG, as we will see a rival 7 take the round, and that is going to be an incredible win for them. Prosperity, what a matchup. But a rival 7 are the victorious team, taking some incredibly difficult strategies to draft against and being able to outclass them. A rival 7 with the win. And once again, the statistics tell a story. Pinnacle this time with 13 final hits. Hoffman with 7. Swapping off a little bit earlier, 22k damage for Pinnacle, just playing so well. Top damage blocks, 34k for Walker, giving their absolute best for the team. Vexar with 16 final hits, by the way. That is the top in the game. They were legitimately finding some good pickups. A very solid Hella play. Well deserving of that Lord skin, which of course only really shows that you've just played the character a lot. But still a cool status symbol to bring into a game like this. When you perform that well, you can say, hey, I earned this. Top healing. 34k coming in from Flamme. That's the top healing output. Least amount of times getting taken out will be Cartier Sky and Flamme, both only getting taken out 4 times. Oh, and UCLA Death, also only getting taken out 4 times. And that's it. That is a Rival 7 moving on in the Marvel Rivals Championship in what is an incredible matchup. What a back and forth between these teams. Just double checking everything here. Okay, well, I'm not going to be covering the lower bracket round 11 because I have just too many games to cover. So I will tell you this now. After that round 10 game, Prosperity did win their lower bracket game. So they are also in that final 8 teams. Just they are in the lower bracket side of it. Their match is going to be against Modo Turbo, by the looks of it. Fun matchup. We'll keep an eye on that as time progresses. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Again, apologize for being mostly in darkness. The sun hot. And also studio lights hot. So let's not combine the two. But thank you all very much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have teams you'd like me to check out, we're looking for the teams of the future here in MRC. So let me know some team names that are in these high-ranked settings here. And let me know which ones you would like to see cast. Leave a comment of the region and the team name. Let me know. And if you're going to be playing in next season, then leave a comment. Or in these open Ignite qualifiers, which are probably going to come sometime after mid-season. If you have a team that you're building up for that, let me know. For now, though, Check out my socials in the description. Like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, etc. If you want to support, then you can hit watch these videos without ad block, hit the thanks button on the channel page, or hit the join button to get early videos, name shoutouts, and behind the scenes for any events I get to go to. For now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much for watching. I have been Tetcher, and I will see you all tomorrow.